As an American, once you do decide to visit Asia, just remember it's not a short flight there. You're not going on an overnight flight, sleep, wake up to breakfast with only 3 hours left until landing. It's not that short of a flight. It's a very long flight, so be prepared for that. Also, if you like myself and turbulence bothers you, then you better have some type of motion sickness medication with you, depending on the country you're deciding to visit. Because again, it is a long flight and you're flying over many countries with different weather patterns. So one country might be rainy, other country might be windy. Therefore, it increases your chance of experiencing some type of turbulence. So bring your medication with you just in case. Have you ever took a long flight like this? And if so, put it down in the comment section. And what was your experience? And if you experienced turbulence, what's your secret to not experience the motion sickness? Mine is if you sit closer to the front, you experience less than the people in the back. Now, since we're here, let's get into why this is my favorite Asian country and expand more on why Singapore is the safest Asian country on the continent. I'm only going to speak on the Asian countries I have visited, which are, of course, Singapore, Indonesia, and Thailand. Singapore holds a special place within my travels, making it my favorite destination in Asia. And this upcoming video series is me just revisiting the city while I revisit friends. I had to look back in my social media and Facebook to find out when did I actually first visit Southeast Asia or Singapore. And when I checked some of my friends' Facebook messages, it goes back to 2011, which was my first time visiting Singapore and also Thailand within the same visit. And up until now, I have visited Singapore many times, more times than any other Asian country that I have visited so far. And you're probably now wondering, well, what made me decide to visit Singapore as my first Asian country? It was this guy, Andrew Zimmerman. After watching the series Bizarre Foods, which was a travel and food show, I decided to make Singapore be my first visit to Asia. And I saw this episode in 2009 and discovered Singapore, the country. I never heard of it before. And also what made me want to come here was the currency. It's easy to understand. It's called the Singaporean dollar. And also they have cents. But the banknotes used often are $5, $10, $50, and $100. So if you're American, this is all familiar. Also, what I learned from watching that video was that the society is multicultural, multi-ethnic, multilingual, and is comprised of Chinese, Malay, and Indian people. So it's diverse, just like the U.S. Unlike some Asian countries when it's one type of people, while here it's a mixed society. So it's blends of tradition from different backgrounds, and it offers a different Asian travel experience once you come here. And because of the diversity, the main language amongst the people to communicate between each other's diversity is English. Also, Singapore was a British colony before it became its own independent nation. So English is very used widely amongst people here in this country. So what you're looking at right now is my arrival here to Singapore. And what I like about the city is that it has always been well organized. Even back since my first visit in 2011 up until now, it is very organized compared to other Asian countries that I have visited. Not just coming to the country in the airport, but also out of the airport. Everything is well organized. It's easy to navigate and explore the city. And it's so organized that it's kind of impossible for you to get lost as a tourist, because you have to remember also, Singapore is the country and city. So yes, it's that small. So you can tour the whole country in a day. It's not going to take a very long time to explore here in Singapore. Beside the Maldives, Singapore is one of the smallest countries in Asia. Also, Singapore is a tropical island off the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula. Singapore's commitment to innovation and sustainability is always unique when visiting. It's always something new that I'm seeing. This right here at the airport in Singapore, your luggage does not all shoot out at one time like most airports have or do. Here at this airport, When there's available space, it's when your luggage comes out. So it's very unique, very different. Also, Singapore is one of the few Asian countries that yearly they're always involved in the World Economic Forum. And you probably wonder, well, what this is. Well, this is a forum that different countries around the world come together and they talk about investment, banking, politics, economics, different things. And Singapore is always there. Either they're leading when it comes to innovation and the banking and financial industry, or they come in maybe number 2 or number 3. So they're always at the forefront when it comes to these things. Therefore, Singapore is a very modern and very well developed small Asian country. And like I mentioned in most of my videos, is that there is no such thing as a perfect country. So yes, there is crime here, but if we're comparing the crime in Singapore to Thailand or Indonesia, it's no comparison. They have less crime, and also they have a less population than the other two. Also, Singapore has earned a reputation as being the nickname called the Fine City. And it's because the number of fines given to people for things that might go completely unnoticed in other countries is not unnoticed here. These fines and the culture that help to produce and comprise a large portion of the reason why the city remains so clean, and also, in my opinion, more welcoming than the other two countries that I have visited so far. Some of the fines you saw might be in a certain area, no smoking, and if you do get caught, the fine is $1,000. And if you come here from another country, there is no chewing gum sold in any of the stores here, and that includes the convenience stores like 7-Eleven. You're not going to find any chewing gum here. And if you get caught with chewing gum, say like you're at the airport chewing gum, or like officers see you with chewing gum, you could get fined, and that fine is another $1,000. And they don't want you chewing gum because they don't want you to take your gum out when you get tired of it and put it under the seat of a taxi, or if you're in the subway. So they don't want you to vandalize anything. And speaking of vandalizing, that's another fine. That would be $1,000 if you get caught. Also, some places don't want you to have the durian fruit, which smells kind of strange to some people. That's a $500 fine. So it goes on and on. And all of this is posted once you enter the country. And you'll see it throughout the city also, with like a circle, and they have like a little line across it, meaning don't do this. So be careful once you come here. And the people here, some of them, most of them, they abide by these rules and laws. Therefore, you as a tourist and foreigner, I suggest you do as well. And another reason why they want people to abide by these laws and rules is because Singapore's commitment to the city's lush green spaces. The city is very clean. So unlike Thailand and Indonesia, you're not going to see a lot of people littering. Now, here is my hotel. When I come to Singapore, I always stay in a hotel. It's very accommodating, and there's no rules as in if you choose to bring a guest or two to your hotel. And speaking of hotels, remember when I said that Singapore is the country and the city because it's that small? That means your options and choices in the country is not limitless. So there is a few amount of hotels, in my opinion, that are considered very good, and those you will pay at least running you 100 and something up. There are also hostels here. I'm not into hostels. And of course, there's apartments you can rent out, but I choose not to get an apartment. It's that when it comes to traveling, it's just some countries you go to, you need to get an apartment. And it's just some other countries you go to, it's the opposite. You really don't need to get an apartment. And Singapore is one of those countries that I choose not to get an apartment. If you're a budget traveler, then Singapore is not one of those countries you want to come and try to budget for a month or two, because it is very expensive. And that's probably why most people, when they come to Southeast Asia, they either go to one of the two, Thailand or the Philippines, because it's much cheaper there and you can budget more. Here, you can't. Now, here is the outside of my hotel. And as you can see, the city, again, is very squeaky clean. You're not seeing bottles, cans, and unused bags floating around in the streets. Not here. You will see that in the other two countries that I have visited, Indonesia and Thailand. When you come here and you look at the city, it almost looks fake, like it's not real, because it's that clean. And that makes it another reason why I like coming here, because out of all the countries in the world that I have traveled to, I got to say that Singapore is probably the most cleanest country that I have ever seen and visited in my life. A country dedicated to cleanliness, which is very unique. Now, when I travel, I always try to stay in shape. It's like going to work. It never stops. It's an ongoing process. If you made it this far in this video, I appreciate it. Leave any comments below. Make sure you like the video. Peace out for now.